Welcome and joining us on our daily Kabbalah. We're going to talk a little bit today, or try to summarize as much as we can to that stage, or to this stage, uh, about the Sferot and how they interact with other things, and then eventually we'll move into other topics. But we have to have those building blocks to understand what we're talking about, those terminology, this basic terminology, and really to build on this. So we can find the Sferot, which we talked about, the 10 elements of God, as also appearing in the holy name itself, in the Tetragrammaton itself. And that constitutes of the letter Yud, the letter Hey, the letter Vav, and the letter Hey. That is the holy private name of God, in which we are not allowed to pronounce it as it is. And it's considered to be a complete disrespect to God's calling him by his so-called first name. Therefore, we're going to refer to it as the Yud K Vav K instead of Yud Hey Vav, and the way it sounds. And just as for me, it sounds like grinding gravel over there when people call themselves the witnesses and so on and so forth, or the J witnesses. For me, I get very insulted because it's like calling somebody that's very dear to me in its private name, which is not respectful. Anyway, enough said. So in the Tetragrammaton, it's hard for me to talk again. I had some dental work, so it's hard to talk. We'll talk about the letters. So the first letter is the Yud. And how does that reflect into the Sferot? So actually the letter Yud itself does not, but rather in Hebrew, when we write the Yud, the letter Yud is like a small 7 like this. On the end of it, there's a little notch like this. It's a little splinter. It's called Kutsoshel Yud. So Yud is really the Kutsoshel Yud refers to the Sfera of Keter, to show us about the enigmatic part of that quality of that Sfera, and the fact that it's hidden, it's not revealed, so therefore it represents the Keter, which is the Kutsoshel Yud, the tip of the Yud. The Yud itself of the holy name refers to the Sfera of Chokhmah. Chokhmah is the first point, the initial point in which creation develops. All creation, universe, everything is being formed. The Yud represents that particular point essence, or the essence of the point in which everything, both the physical and the spiritual universe, is being formed. Hey represents the Sfera of Bina, and that is what we call Heya Elyona, or what we call Em Habanim, the mother of the sons, of the children. And from that, the rest of the Sferot get nourishment. That's the source of the cause of that. Vav will be the Sfera of Tiferet. Remember, we said Tiferet is in a way the Keter, or the higher Sferot of the lower Sferot. So Vav represents 6 corners, or 6 points from Chesed until Yesod. And also the letter Vav, which is a single line, represents a continuing flow throughout all the 6 Sferot, that line in between them, if you have the picture of the 6 Sferot in front of you, and also represents the middle line in which the Tiferet really sits on. The 6 Sferot also represents this physical world, because we know that everything has 6 sides to it. If, for example, we're talking about a cube or a book, so it's the 4 plus the 6 plus the 2 makes 6. So everything that is associated with the number 6 represents this world, the 6 days of creation. 7 represents Shabbat, and 8 represents the Tikkun, the above. That's why we do Milah, Brit Milah on the 8th day. That's why we dedicate Shabbat, the 7th day, to the spiritual. That's why 7 is the lucky number of many people, and so on and so forth. So that is Vav, which is the 6th Sferot. The last Hey represents Malchut, which is the lower Hey. It's the Yud and the Hey, and the Vav and the Hey. which represent this world. The Malchut is a reflection of the Binah that in a way regenerates and gives birth and nourishment to the 6 Sferot that is after that. And so is the Malchut is what brings this world or brings about this world into reality, comes to the Sferah of Malchut. So to somewhat summarize it, we have to say that the symbolic richness of the world of the Sferot or the concept of Sferot is almost endless, because we can continue talking about how this Sferah merges in this Sferah, because we know there are the 10 Sferot. Now, every Sferah has another 10 Sferot in it, and has another 10 Sferot in it. It's basically endless combination. And we could really continue and talking deep and deeper into the meaning and the symbolism of the Sferot and the story that goes behind them. And believe me, that could take you a lifetime. That would be something that will take a lifetime. And I'm not quite sure that it is in the capacity of at least myself to really understand this fine tuning of how the reflection of this Sferah and that Sferah and so on and so forth. It's beyond me. But learning deep and really learning and understanding those Sferot really is able to connect us to the Torah, to the world that we have, and really reveal to us different dimensions, very deep and new dimensions that are really hidden in reality, that using this concept of Sferot really brings them to the light. So when we look at reality with the symbolic eyes, right, as it gives it gives reality a totally different light and a totally different meaning and interaction, which is much deeper than the way we look at this way, than the way we look at life. Because we know everything we see is not really what we see. We all know that. And because it depends on how you see it. So for example, if I would look at a dog and a spider looks at a dog, they are looking at the same object, but the way it's been translated in their eyes is completely different. Or a flower to a human, or to a dog, or to a deer, or to a butterfly. The butterfly will be able to see colors in which the deer doesn't see. A deer sees black and white. But I guess to the deer, the color of the plants is not important. To us, we have such a tremendous ability in terms of our intellect, and not to utilize it in an appropriate manner is in a way a crime against yourself, because your experience of the world is going to be different. There comes the Kabbalah and using the Sferot, and it kind of helps you look at the world in different lights and how things interact and the quality of things. And the more you're aware of things, of course, the more you appreciate it. And that's something, it's important. The Mekubalim says to us, says that when you look what we call Omek HaPshat, everybody says Pshat. Pshat means a simple explanation. You see the depth in simplicity that you are able to see the divine in simplicity. We think that the more complex, the more, detail-oriented, the greater it is. Not necessarily so. That's on a certain level of interaction. That's on a certain level of observance. But if, for example, you'll be able to sit down and to think, let's say, for example, I had a dental work, and I like when the dentist explains to me things, because I like to know what's going on and why is he doing this and why is he doing that. So I asked him, and he likes to explain to me also. A young guy, a very nice guy. So he was explaining to me a certain material, because I felt something really horrible in my mouth. I said, why is it so bitter? So he explains to me. And at that moment, I says, my goodness, so much thought has gone into developing this thing, so much talent, so much energy, so much thinking. And he says to me, it seems like you really appreciate it. I said, of course I appreciate it. Because it makes you realize the effort that goes into this. So when we look at the world and we take it for granted, how are we supposed to appreciate it? How are we supposed to appreciate my fellow human if I don't read to see how complex and wonderful that person is, or a Jew to that matter, or anybody else? So the depth of creating simple things, right? And understanding the secret of simplicity, you would see the divine in simplicity. The way the simple ideas really bring themselves all the way from Ein Sof, from the Kadosh Baruch Hu himself, all the way down to here. You see reality the way it is, which is very simple thing for you, and so on and so forth. That's simple. Let me tell you, if you think it's simple, it ain't simple. Nothing is simple. It's a lot of thought. You go, for example, into, let's say, a classic Japanese room. What is there? Nothing. There are walls, some beams, some tatami, and some flower arrangement. Oh, that's simple. I can do it. Okay, let's see you not doing this. You know how many years have gone into developing this whole theory behind the simplicity? The beauty is in simplicity. And if you cannot find it there, you would not find it anywhere. So, and I'll give you an example. Let's say you're going to I don't know, 10-course meal somewhere in France with sauces, heavy sauces and this and that, right? Which is very good. It's very this. But if the chef or the cook cannot make you an omelet, or you taste something that is so simple, like your mother's cooking, that it's not sophisticated, or your grandmother's cooking, and all of a sudden you'll try to imitate what your grandmother is making, you won't be able to. I saw a guy, an Israeli guy, that did like a trip back, to where his ancestors came from, and he says, and it is a very successful chef, very talented, worked in the best restaurant in France, worked in Israel for many years in this top restaurant. And he says, I'm doing a journey to try to recreate my mother's cooking, in which I did not have the foresight to see that she's going to be gone, to see how she's doing things, how she's, it's all gone. So I'm trying to recreate it. And it says, I can't. However, certain tastes and certain smells and certain flavors that he says, I felt like I'm back home. I felt like my mother's cooking. And he said, that's like mother's milk. It's so basic that we can replicate it. My mother is a super cook. I mean, and I really mean that. She is fantastic. I mean, so much that at the time, I know a few chefs that ask us, listen, come teach us how to do it, because we can't. I mean, it's really amazing. She cooks different than my grandmother. She cannot make things that my grandmother made. And I'm a pretty decent cook myself, and for sure I cannot make anything like my mother and nothing like my grandmother. Even though it was simple. There was no cookbooks, and there was no heavy sauce, and there was no this, and there was no mixers, and there was no global knives, and the base, I can make it. So you realize that the simple thing is not simple. It takes tremendous sophistication to create simple things that are simple. Doesn't mean minimalistic. Minimalistic sometimes could really confuse you. But simplicity, you could really see the divine in the simplicity. And something that is simple is very complex, it's very deep, and it's much complex and deeper than you ever thought it would be. Especially for a person who is really intellectual and he is a real deep thinker. For him, he would like to go back to the basics. And again, the higher you go in whatever it is that you do, you'll be more interested in the basics than in the complex. Like, for example, let's take the martial arts world. You know, you reach a certain level, you can give this fancy kick and so on and so forth, spinning and doing all kind of tricks, which will be nice for a circus. But the true master of the art will be concentrating in how do you give the punch. I saw a master class with this Japanese master. He's a ninth grade Kyokushin karate master. No, and everybody there is a second, third degree black belt and up. The whole workout was giving the basic punch. I couldn't believe it. A whole entire hour he was working with them on punches. And you expect to do no, the basic stuff again. And what it says, to something like this, the Kabbalah calls it to reach a certain point of deep tehom, deep abyss, with Ruach Elokim merachefet al pnei hamayim, with the Spirit of God hovering. It doesn't get more simple than that. Nothing besides an open space and God dwelling on top of it. That is as simple and as complex as it gets. So therefore, revealing the symbolic layer, or to take layers upon layers of the symbolism of reality, and therefore connecting it to the world of Sferot, really allows us to see connections and interrelationships that you didn't see before, how interaction between this and this, how those things interact. You could really see and all of a sudden identify and become aware of processes that really reveal to your eyes as a part of a much bigger, deeper, and colorful picture that you ever thought before could exist. So that's why it's very important to understand those symbolism and to understand the parts that there are basically multiple billions of pixels that would make a whole entire picture, and the way they're arranged. So imagine every pixel in a picture, there's like millions of them. So how many more parts and references and interactions are in what we call the picture of life? And all of a sudden you understand how they become whole, how they become one, how they become a part, and what are the ingredients. And then you understand what this world is all about, which is fascinating. So now quickly, I would like to summarize it and go through different aspects. Later on, whoever wants to write it, wants to write it. You don't have to write it, you can do it later on. So let's talk about the Sferot now, certain representations, and so on and so forth. So let's start with Keter. Keter, the names of the Keter will be Ratzon, wheel, Ratzon and Ratzonot, the wheel of all wheels, or in Aramit, Ra'avad Re'avim, or Haratzon Shelo Noda, Velo Nitpas Klal Le'olam, the wheel in which is not known and could not be grasped forever. The what we call Harosh HaSatum, the sealed head, as the Zohar calls it, or in nothingness, and the simple of all simplicity, the complex of all complexity, that's considered to be Ein. What we say, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, lack of thinking, lack of presence, the light that cannot stand the light, nothingness, complete chesed. Keter is called Adam Kadmon. It's also called Ari Champing, the long face, Atik Yumin, the ancient one, or Atika Kadisha. And the name, the holy name that represents with that is Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, I will be what I would be. The way they refer to it in the physical form is going to be Hu. The colors is going to be darkness, white, white within white, white that includes all the white, as the Zohar says, or completely see-through, clear. And the letter in the name of the Yud Kevavke, or the Tetragrammaton, is going to be the edge of the Yud. The next Sfera is going to be Chokhmah. The names of the nicks of the Chokhmah will be Machshava Elokit, the divine thought, Machshava Stuma, the concealed thought, Eden, like from Gan Eden, the Eden, Yesh, there is substance, Abba, Father, Nekuda, point. The colors will be blue, The internal organ will be the brain. The letter of the Yud Ke Vav Ke will be the Yud. The holy name of that Sfera will be Ya, Yud and Hey. The Sfera of Bina, the name of it will be Olam Haba, the other world. Em Habanim, the mother of the sons. Tshuva is also Bina. Heichal, a chamber. And Ima, mother. The internal womb, the internal organ that represent will be the womb. The fathers that will represent will be Leah, Leah Himenu. The colors will be yellow and green. The name of the Yud Ke Vav Ke will going to be the first Hey. By the way, regarding Chokhmah, I don't know if I mentioned the color of Chokhmah. The color of Chokhmah would be blue, and the color of Binah, as we said, is going to be greenish. The holy name is the Yud Ke Vav Ke Benikud Elokim, with the punctuation of the word Elokim on the Yud Ke Vav Ke. The Sfera of Chesed, the name of that will be Or, light. The quality of or natural quality of that will be will be water. Water comes from Chesed. The direction of the wind was going to be south, will be represented by the south. The father will be from the patriarchs, will be Abraham Avinu. The colors will be white or silverish white. The holy name that would be associated with that Sfera will be Kel, Aleph Lamed. The Sfera of Gvura, the nicknames or the qualities of that will be Choshed, darkness, or Pachad, fear. The element, a natural element, will be fire. The direction will be north. The forefathers will be Yitzchak Avinu. The holy name will be Elokim. The colors will be red, gold, and black. The Sfera of Tiferet, the name for Sfera of Tiferet, or other names for that would be Gesher, a bridge, Shamayim, sky, Shemesh, sun, Yom, day. It's also called, what we call it, Habariach HaTichon HaMavriach Min HaKatzeh LeKatzeh. The bariach is a latch that goes from side to side. It's also known as Ze'er Rampin. The forefathers will be Yaakov Avinu. The element of nature would be wind. I don't want to sound too new age for that, but it exists, so I gotta say it. The direction is going to be east. The name of the body or the part of the body is going to be Ata, you. The inner part of the body is going to be Lev, heart. The colors will be yellow, purple, and green. The name of the Yud Ke Vav Ke is going to be the Vav. The holy name is also the name Yud Ke Vav Ke. The Sfera of Netzach, the forefathers will be Moshe Rabbeinu. The color is going to be light pink. The holy name is Hashem Tzevakot, Yud Ke Vav Ke Tzevakot. The internal organ will be the right kidney and the right testicle, because they go together. The Sfera of Hod, the Avot, will be Aharon. The colors will be dark pink. The holy name will be Elokim Tzvakot, not Hashem Tzvakot, but Elokim Tzvakot. The internal organ will be the left kidney and the left testicle. The Sfera of Yesod, the name of it will be Tzaddik Yesod Olam, right? Dan knows that. Tzaddik Yesod Olam represents Yesod. Also, it's called Brit Hamilah, or the word Kol. The Avot will be, which one will be the Avot? Yosef HaTzadik. That's a representative of the Sfera of that. The colors will be orange. The holy name that is associated with that Sfera is going to be Shakai or Kel Chai. That's the Sfera of Yesod. The last Sfera is Malchut. The names of it are great. It's called Eretz, reference to here. Hayam Shekol HaNechalim Molchim Elav, the ocean in which all the rivers flow to. The moon, the daughter's or the daughter. It's also referred to as Aron Brit. It's called a Kli. It's called the Lord Mother. It's called the Queen. It's called Shechina. It's also called Knesset Israel. It is called Night. It's also called Midat Hadin Harafa, the soft judgment. It's also called Beit Din Shel Mata. It's also referred to sometimes as Oni, empowerment, and also the mother of the world. That's how it refers to. A natural element will be dirt and earth. The direction of the of the wind of the earth will be west. That's why we turn around on Friday night. We turn around to the west to be receiving the Shekhinah. In other words, receiving the Shabbat, which is called Shabbat HaMalka, Shabbat the Queen. The when you refer to it as a in terms of reference, you call Ani, which will be the me. The internal organ of that Sfirat Malchut will be the liver. The Avot and the Imaot, the forefathers and the foremothers, will be David HaMelech, King David, Rachel Imenu, Rachel, Rachel, Miriam HaNeviah, and Esther HaMalka. The color of that will be blue, royal blue, because it's Malchut. The letter of the Tetragrammaton will be the last Hey, and the holy name will be Ammonai. Until, boys and girls, I give you so much to do. If you would just write down what I just said, and next time you hear those things or refer to it, or you sing psukim, or you sing tehillim, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about. Now, for example, every time you have a color in the Tanakh, you refer to what you're referring to. So if you're talking about ומרדכי יצא מלפני המלך, בלבוש מלכות ועטרת זהב. What is it? זאת תכלת והארגמן, and so on and so forth. You understand the association of whatever came about, and so on and so forth. So Rabotai, I hope that helped you a little bit. We have so much more to talk about, but I'm glad we got it off the slate so we can talk about other things. If you have questions, you can reach us as rabbigaon@gmail.com. You can check our Yeshiva website at yeshiva.etzion.com. If you want to help us with donations, you could also do so on our PayPal account or Venmo. You can find that. You can look at Instagram. Don't forget that when you look at all these things, please share, like, and subscribe. And I hope to see you again here tomorrow, or actually tonight and tomorrow. And I hope you enjoyed it. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.